Welcome to another episode of Explore Grant County. And my brother and I are at it here again. He's brought the laptop out this time because we have some very sensitive topics that we have to discuss. We want to treat this with respect. We want to treat this with the gravity and the gravitas that it deserves. And we are going to be talking about the school levy and how it pertains to that we are trying to push on this levy, that if you don't vote for this levy, you don't care about the kids' safety, because 37% of the levy was geared towards kids' safety.
Yep.
Now, it's a very tough topic when you talk about dangerous situations in school.
School shootings.
Yes. I don't know where on YouTube they'll block some of this stuff out if you say some stuff. Honestly, it's real. So we don't know. We want to be gentle, but it's a tough subject. The one thing I do want to say to start it all, because we're going to get into some facts and figures. We're being told, you have to vote this because you care for the kids. Well, here's my issue. Did we not care for the kids 4 years ago?
With the last levy.
So that lets me know that the people that did the last levy didn't care about the kids.
That's what they're going to say.
And their safety. So,
including the Board of Education
and
the superintendent.
Yeah. We're getting hit on all sides about, not caring about the kids' safety. So we want to be very delicate with this. But 4 years ago, where was this same?
If this was that important, it should have been more than 4 years ago. It should have been, 50 or whatever.
And by our tallies, 4 years ago, with the cost of the levy, they could have done all 5 schools. Correct. And I say 5. They try to say 4. And yes, I know that the VOTEC is it's not really part of the school system. But if you're putting kids there,
our children are there. And every child matters.
Every child matters. We hear that a lot too.
Yep.
What we're finding out that is not necessarily the case.
When you see how they spend the money.
Spend the money. So we're just bringing this up to try to tear apart the narrative that you're a bad person if you don't vote for this levy because it's all about kid safety. Narrative number 1, let's shoot down. Where was it 4 years ago? And that was the past superintendent. Did we not care about it? Does he not care about the kids' safety? Because the school shootings happened 4 years ago as well.
Oh,
it's not a new thing.
It's been happening for decades and decades.
Yes.
Nothing new.
We could say that if it just popped up out of the blue 2 years ago, okay, we're into a new problem. But it hasn't been. Columbine was how long ago? It was years ago.
Columbine, it's been so long ago. I'll look it up. It's not even on my report. My report that I pulled, that I worked on with some other people, that was in 1999. My report starts in the year 2000.
Okay, so a year after Columbine, was so atrocious and hideous and heinous what happened. That's probably when they really started tracking. Really pushing this. So, we agree that children's safety is of the utmost.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're going to go into details. So if it is of the utmost, then why wasn't it dealt 4 years ago? Correct. And that whole levy
very good question.
Could have
it would take care of all 5 schools. But
Done.
Okay, so first off, I hate that you asked me to do this because school safety is, to your point,
it's
I
tough.
have 4 children.
Yes.
Public schools.
And your kids have been through a lockdown in Florida.
I had a phone call. And so this is going to tell you how crazy it is. My 2 daughters in Florida, same school, different hallways. One is calling me underneath the desk. Her lights are out. The door is barricaded. I text my other daughter. She's like, "Daddy, the door's open. The teacher's teaching. We don't have the lights off. The teacher told us it didn't matter."
Jeez.
So guess who I called? Principal, who said, "Yeah, I made a mistake." And I said, "Well, if you're a pilot or a surgeon, mistakes means you lose your job or you get sued.
Yeah.
So you can't make mistakes." So then I called the superintendent. So
we understand
serious issues.
We understand the seriousness of this.
And this is not fun to talk about. But.
So my first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about where school
shootings happen?
I hope we just don't get dinged on that. But yes, where they happen.
According to OmniAlert, 80% of school shootings occur outside of the school. So when you look at the feedback, when you look at the stuff, it's all over. You can pull it up on the internet. I pulled up First off, I focused on school mass shootings, which means there's 5 or more victims or injured, 5 or more people.
Yeah, it doesn't mean deaths necessarily. It's just
5 or
people,
more victims.
and it doesn't include the person who does the shooting. Is that correct?
I think
that's what it was when I looked it up.
I don't know that, but I knew 5 was the number.
Okay.
So when I pulled the data, because I spent many hours, and this is stuff that the Board of Education and the superintendent could have done as well, I looked at mass shootings, because mass shootings are 5+. There's a lot of shootings. And I went through the year from 2000 to 2024.
So
yeah,
first off, 80. Would you say 80%?
80% of school shootings happen outside of the building.
Okay,
yes.
So I just have a question for you. I think you did this once for me. I have a question for you. What does the new school front do if a school shooting is outside?
80% of the time, it doesn't help outside.
Okay, just wondering.
But here's my question, because I have kids in school. They walk to the bus. Do our kids walk to Votech?
Yes.
Do our kids go down? When I played football, I walked down to the football field.
Yes.
After school and for practice, So, and it's interesting because I had to can pull it up. Out of the 47 mass school shootings that happened since 2000, there are probably, I want to tell you exactly because I don't want to make it up. I'm talking about stuff that's happened in football games or basketball games. Football game, basketball court, football game, drive-by shooting, football game, from outside, football game, leaving basketball game.
That's 7.
I even have an Amish school shooting from Pennsylvania, believe it or not. Okay, so 7. So out of the 47, 7 were at sporting events, right? So 80% occur outside of the school, according to OmniAlert. I pulled data for school mass shootings. That's what I focused on since 2000.
Okay. So we're finding out that outside seems to be the issue.
A majority of the time.
Okay. So next thing then, because the high school is the one that gets the new front, and only Petersburg High School, not Union. Petersburg High School gets the front,
not the elementary school.
Not the element. Well, I'm gonna ask about that.
Okay.
So where do most school shootings happen as far as high school, elementary? What falls
mass
there?
Shootings since 2000? More shootings occur at high schools.
At high schools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, great. We get a front on the high school where most of the mass shootings happen. How many people normally are injured,
hurt, victims
at high schools?
So, on average, based on the last
24 years.
Yeah. An average high school shooting has 3 victims and 7 injured.
Okay.
That's on average.
7
wounded and 3 victims.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about at elementary schools?
Great question. Because when I didn't know, when I did all this study, I didn't know what the answer was going to be, right? And so I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, more happens at a high school. This makes sense. Elementary schools. There's only been, since 2020, 6 mass shootings at high schools, elementary schools.
Okay.
And just keep in mind, this also includes universities. So university has just about the same amount as high schools.
About as high schools. Okay.
So the reporting they did was college. It was
schools in general, kind of.
Correct.
Okay.
Elementary school, 6 shootings have happened in elementary schools.
Okay.
Here's the kicker. The average number of victims is 9.8. There's 3 times as many victims and 8.8 injured. So it goes from 3.08 to 9.8 for victims, and then 7.19 to 8.83 for injured. So
what does the safe school at the high school, the safe school entrance, have to do with the elementary then? Because that's where more of the tragedy occur. Not more. How do I say that? Not more times,
not more occurrences,
but more.
They're more
a
traumatic.
Greater tragedy happens.
Correct. And so when you look here, and you can go in, so it tells you a 30,000 foot view of what happened. Like Robb Elementary School, Uvalde, Texas, right? Terrible. And that's something. So elementary school shootings are normally when people actually can get into the school. So a safe entry at a school shooting is more important in elementary school. Reason being is the elementary students are our most vulnerable kids. I mean, their ages 4 to 9, 10. I mean, these are our kids who, when something goes down, and I never took in high school. I never took. What did you take to be able to get your hunting license? What was it called?
Oh, your hunter safety class.
Yeah,
what it was.
I think they may have been called.
There's a proper term, but hunter safety class.
I never took it. Wasn't raised by a hunter. Was raised by a pastor. But when the kids in high school can hear, I'm sure a kid in high school can tell a gunshot much better than a kid in elementary school. But the elementary schools are not. The students are young.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do.
They're older in high school, so better flight,
Yeah. They know to
run if they have to.
Better decision making.
Might follow the rules a little bit better. You've got kindergarten kids, first grade kids that you're like, okay, we're going to be quiet.
Yeah.
What does that mean to them?
Yeah. And so in all the study, there's even universities was less. I mean, in that.
So the older you get, the less it happens, kind of.
It depends. So university average, high school average was 3 victims. University was 5 victims.
Oh, so more.
But it was less injured. So high school average was 7. Was 7 injured. University was 6 injured. So it was a little bit less. So you really have to go in and really dig into them.
And the thing about if most university tragedies, it seems like it happens outside. It's not like because it's kids walking from the class, well, so they're more.
The biggest one was Virginia Tech. Yeah, that was in April 2007. That was massive. That was terrible. The shooting was actually on campus. So when going through the numbers of what actually happened and where do we, if safety is really a concern. I mean, wisdom is always the key, and we use that word. And it was the richest man ever in the entire world, not Elon Musk, he would say it as well, but Song of Solomon, wisdom.
Just Solomon. He wrote Song of Solomon.
Thank you for helping me out. I'm a
That's
pastor.
All right, Pastor.
That's Song of Solomon, guy. He wrote Proverbs.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction. And he said, "And all that getting, get wisdom." No, wait. He said, "And all that getting, get understanding or knowledge,"
which is wisdom.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm putting like 5 sermons in my head in one time because I'm thinking about something else. But so wisdom is a key. So I'm assuming that they would have researched this when they said, okay, if we're really concerned about safe schools, and what we're trying to show you is they're saying that, but we don't see that. Elementary schools scare me the most. That's where the kids need the most help. And they do have, what are they called? Pro officers.
Yes.
And every school has one pro officer, I believe.
I don't know. I cannot quote that. I think that might be on this levy
to get one
everyone to get one.
Okay.
I think it. Once again, I apologize if I'm wrong. I think it's split now.
Okay. Well, what I'm trying to say is, even with pro officers, because a lot of these places had an officer.
Yeah.
And
I think when you told me, I was like, oh, that. There's a lot of officers in these.
And there is, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
no.
I'm just saying if every school gets an officer, if I was going to spend $2.5 million, I would first be putting it at our elementary schools. Now, so that and
not just one elementary
there's
school.
2 elementary schools, and
you might as well figure Union is K through 12.
And so interesting when you go through the studies, there's not a lot of K through 12 schools. There really isn't, and it's tough. They're normally in smaller towns. So in the whole study, there was only one shooting at a K through 12 school, Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, and that was an Amish school. So if I was going to say I really care about a kid's education, and I just gave them the next idea for the next 5 levies, we're going to do levies. We're going to do what these guys said, and we're going to do levies at every school. But if I wasn't trying to put up something that made me look good and feel good, and I really sat down with the whole steering committee, and I assume that the steering committee studied this.
Yeah, I would like to see their data on this.
Yeah.
Where was your data showing that the high school was the best place to put it?
And maybe my data is wrong. I mean, really, I went online. I am not a correction officer, police. I'm not. I just went online and pulled the data, and I pulled mass shootings from 2000 up to today, right? So I would have said, let's do it at elementary schools. But here's something even more so that's funny. This is according to USA Facts. 28% of recorded school shootings occur in the parking lot. 28%.
And that's where I've always thought that they're most vulnerable.
That's the number one. That's the number one most common place for school shootings. Now, we said 80% occur outside. The number one, 28%, is the largest percentage. The second percentage is 20%, which is directly, and this is what the website said, USA Facts, directly outside the front or side entrances.
They're getting on buses.
That's another 20%. So this isn't Justin. This is USA Facts, OmniAlert.
So the top two reasons have nothing to do with a school front, a safe school entrance. Nothing.
Yeah, and
that does nothing. So 48%, a safe school entrance wouldn't have done anything.
80% are outside of the school building.
Yeah, well,
80%.
Yeah. I was thinking this was the top two reasons.
Well, the top two reasons do account for 48%. But yeah, so when you're saying, okay, we want to make the kids safe, what makes the most sense? I would have went about it differently. I also spoke with a gentleman from Riot Glass.
Okay. Yeah, I know you were doing a deep dive on this.
Yeah, I don't work anymore. I do this. I do this for a living. I'll tell the guy's name in case somebody wants to question or verify. Let me see here. What's the guy's name? Sean Collins. Okay, so I said, because I know that in Moorfield they did something for the glass protection of the schools. And I know that we've had some questions where people said, hey, it's great we're doing the front of Petersburg High School, but what about the cafeteria? And what about the other windows?
The band hallway, I think, is all windows as well.
Yeah, it was when I went.
Yeah.
And so what do we do with that?
And that's just, now we're just talking, see, we're falling into it. We're just talking the high school.
Yeah. But
Maysville, I think there's windows on the front.
But let's say
the elementary school, I don't think there's windows. Yeah, Petersburg Elementary.
There's some, but it's not as
much.
Many. So I researched, okay, because I think I know that Moorfield had something done on the glass. According to what we reached out and heard, it's not bulletproof.
It's shatterproof.
Shatterproof. And I want to tell you why that matters. I did a study and talked to Sean. So shatterproof helps with forced entry. In other words, if you shoot a bullet at a window, I don't care where it's at, church, school, business, your house, traditionally the whole window would just shatter. So there's something called a forced entry access denial. That's a product name.
Okay.
And so if you shoot through the window, it's not bulletproof, but the window doesn't shatter, because what they're trying to do is make sure the person with the gun can't get inside of the school.
Okay. So does the bullet still go through, though?
It goes through.
Okay.
So someone on the other end can be hurt, but the person can't make access into the school from the hole. A sledgehammer and a panel, using a sledgehammer, the panel will still stay in place and won't break.
Okay.
So the forced entry access, they're trying to keep people out of the school.
Out.
Ready for pricing? Ready for pricing?
Yes,
for that? Yeah. Okay. This is testing and rating through AP25 polycarbonate-based product. I told you I'm not smart enough, so I'm like, you got to talk really slow to me. On average, with labor, it's about $85 a square foot to put on the forced entry access product, okay?
Okay.
Per square foot. So I don't know how many square feet are on the front of the school, the Petersburg High School. But there is a product. It's a ballistic product. This is what we hear called bulletproof. So there's forced entry access, which is shatterproof, but then you have bulletproof product. This is where a bullet cannot go through, and there's 3 different levels. Because I said, well, what does that mean? He's like, there's different bullets, there's different guns. He's like, so the president...
There's the stuff that the president uses.
He's going to have something different on in the White House, in his limo, in the airplane, all that stuff. So they have levels 1 through 3 and levels 4 through 7. And this is called access denial and ballistic product. And it can be used, there's different levels based on the firearm and the number of rounds that go into it. So you may be able to sit there and shoot like 100 rounds. I don't know. Everyone has a different one. But the cost. So this is a square foot pricing with labor to put something like this at the high school would be $260 a square foot. Okay. Right? So in my opinion, there's so much glass around there. Since 80% of the shootings occur outside the school, I'm thinking something bulletproof would. I mean, it's a $260. It'd probably be less than $2.5 million to do all the windows.
Probably.
In the school. I'm guessing because I don't know the square footage. I don't think.
Or even just taking a few windows out.
Well, you could do that. I mean, I like light because light actually helps. Believe it or not, education.
Yeah, it does.
People learn better when there's light. So I'm not a fan of taking out windows, but. I don't think I should go to the school and start. I was like, should I go to the school and measure? I'm like, that's a sure way. It's a sure way to get the pro officer to walk out. May I help you, sir? But that's about window protection, and it actually you don't have to take out the existing windows. You go in and you mount this product to the windows. It's like either in front or behind, depending on the application. So you could go into the schools and you could do this product. And like I said, maybe it's something we can go do. But if we could find out. How many windows are there? Just alone, what can we do in the schools? We may be able to do it for all the schools for $2.5 million. That's still, I'm assuming that the entry, maybe you can answer this. The entry into the school is to stop people from being able to just walk in.
Yes.
Or to make it tough for them to walk in.
Which my understanding is you can't now anyway. They put up a second level in the high school, and you have to kind of just stand in there. I know that's that way at the middle or at the elementary school.
You can walk in and then ask a question.
No, I think I think in the elementary school you can go in the one door and then you're stopped.
It's locked.
To the second. Now Maysville would be the thing because it is older, and I think they're still. It's been a year. They might be wooden doors still.
Okay.
I think maybe.
Are you sure? Because there was,
or maybe
in
not.
the last levy, there was money.
Maybe not. Well, I haven't been up there in a while. I have not been up there in a while, so that could have changed.
Yeah, and I'm guessing.
And then
what that was
Union,
spent.
I think I've been up to Union once or twice.
We were up there about a year ago for a meeting. Let me see here, because there was some money.
And I think there's a lot of windows at the Votech.
Oh, yeah. Well, $100,000, according to this information, was put for doors. But what we're trying to find out is if we're really concerned about child safety, what's the right thing to do? What makes sense? What's going to be the right thing for the safety of the kids? Unfortunately, when 80% of shootings happen outside of the schools, that's tough. That's really tough. So whoever is on the steering committee, if that's the number you looked at, that's a tough. I mean, what do you say to kids who are walking 80%? That's it's not like it's 50. I mean, that's a big number. So, I think the pro officers, unfortunately, at a lot of the shootings, some of the places the cops actually
intervened
and actually took down the perpetrator.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's my study. That's what I found out. I was beyond shocked that elementary schools were the most were injured. And it was just because that's our most delicate age and our most, I don't know how to word it. I mean,
they're our most vulnerable.
Correct. And that's where I would have started.